All right, guys, good evening and welcome to our Monday night team call. My name is Kelly Jones, and it is my great pleasure to get to be with you this evening and share an interview with my very dear friend, Dave Albury. So I think if you've been around the block with network marketing for any length of time, you would agree with me when I tell you that it matters who you surround yourself with, right? Because the right people by your side can make all the difference in your experience, not only in life, but especially in this business. And Dave is a person that I am so grateful to have by my side because, y'all, I've said it for years. When Dave talks, I listen. And so we have had the most fun getting ready to share this entire evening with you because Dave and I both are passionate about the industry of network marketing and what that means for us in regard to our own future. But he's got just a very unique perspective to share with us tonight. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to dialogue together. Let me put this on speaker view so you can see him clearly when he shares. Dave, welcome. What I'd love for you to do just to start us off is tell us a little bit about yourself, like where do you live? What
Yep.
stage of life are you in? What was it that made you open to building a business with Plexus?
Thank you, Kelly. This a lot of preparing for this, and can't think of anyone better whose hands I'm in. I'm trusting you. My wife and I, who we've been married, oh gosh, this year it's 38 years. We live outside of Lynchburg, Virginia, in an area called Forest. And we are empty nesters, other than Raleigh or Dachshund. But we've lived here, oh goodness, now for, gosh, a couple of decades, at least 25, 26 years. And um, just enjoying life. And, I had been in network marketing years ago with another company. And I was actually living, I'm originally born in the Bahamas. I'm a US citizen now, but I was living in the Bahamas when I was involved with this other company. They're big here in the US as well. And when I moved back to Virginia, I felt like I was just very distracted, and it was sad, and I didn't continue. But it was something that I had always seen value in and knew that it was a great way to make a living. I got distracted, ended up in corporate America, and that will eat up a lot of your time. So some years later, I actually heard about my daughter, who called, and she's one of those people that went emerald very fast. So I was watching all of this happen, and I had other people, other relatives telling me, you should do this, you should do Plexus. And I kept saying, no, no, no. I had been with my company in corporate America for 24 years. I, was a regional vice president. I thought I, knew it all. And the sad thing is that I was actually chasing the illusion of security for a paycheck.
Wow.
Because, and part of the story is, I used it for a year or a little over a year, and then decided to do this as a business. And literally 2 months after I started building my business, my company restructured, and I didn't job.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was a very bitter to swallow.
Yeah, that definitely would be. When we were talking previously, you were sharing with me that the industry in corporate America that you've been a part of was all around the concept of staffing,
Yeah,
and that you had had a very intimate look to the behind the scenes
yeah,
experience of people in that industry. And you shared a story with me about your own experience that, well, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but just tell us about that, Dave. Tell us about what your relationship was with your
yeah.
boss at the time that your company restructured.
Well, it was interesting because again, I'd been with that company for 24 years and I'd been climbing the ladder. Because when I had joined them, I had already kind of had a lot of life experience, and so I started at the bottom. And at the time I started, eventually became the CEO of the company. And this was a Fortune 500 company. This is a big staffing company, global. And so the CEO of the company is someone that, at conferences, we would sit and talk about each other's kids. He knew my kids by name. He knew, what they did, what their interests were. But when the happened, but that relationship did not matter when that happened. The board had made a decision, and it was what it was. So, no one was coming to save Dave. So that sort of level of relationship that I had, even though this person was the CEO of the company, it really didn't matter. And I tell people all the time now, I'm still working in corporate America. I'm here for a good time, not a long time, as I tell people. And it's not what it used to be for me, because it was something that really fueled me. It was loved. I don't have that anymore. My eyes have been opened. And I am creating a path for myself to exit. So that's my plan. It does not mean that people in corporate America are bad people. It doesn't mean that it's an evil place. It just means that I have realized that there is a better way, and that's what I'm pursuing.
Wow, that's fascinating. So Dave, let me ask you this question. Why do you feel like network marketing is the business of the future?
A couple of things. So, we were talking about, Warren Buffett recently, not too long ago, talking about are the times that we're going through right now in terms of inflation, this recessionary time that we haven't seen in a very long time. And it's not that network marketing is brand new. It's been around a long time. But we have all seen, being part of this, our own company grow. We're seeing so many other people jumping into this industry, wanting to create something better for themselves and for their families. Again, I sit in the staffing world. I'm with another company. So when the restructure happened with my other company, it was before COVID, before the pandemic.
Right.
So when I re-entered this world, it was we're kind of coming out of it. And we struggle. We struggle, and it's not just my company. I talk to people friends that I know in staffing. Everyone is struggling to find people, and staffing companies are just, they're spending money hand over fist with recruiting and trying to find people. People are they didn't return to the workplace like they expected. And I'm sitting back just kind of grinning, because yes, a lot of them are finding ways to game the government system, but there are a lot of people that have chosen to pursue what they call for themselves a side business. And that is what I am seeing a lot of happening. So aside from Plexus, like I said, there's lots of companies. This is a big industry, and I'm seeing that happen. But we're now moving into this era, especially right now, like I was saying, I'm talking about Warren Buffett. And one of the things that he said is that when we are faced with times like this, high inflation, the fear of recession, the best two things that you can do for yourself: invest in yourself,
Right.
And the conversation, I don't know his exact words, but there was sort of like a recap of the conversation that I read. And starting a business didn't mean, go the Small Business Administration and borrow $500,000 and buy a building and, that. There were specific things that he mentioned, and they were something that's cheap to start. Hello, like you were saying, $1, $1 membership to start a business with Plexus. Something that's simple to understand. This is really not difficult. Something that's simple to run. Love the fact that I don't have to manage a brick and mortar. I don't have to hire staff. I don't have to keep inventory. I don't even have to manage a back office. I just need to show up in it and see what's going on. It's very simple, but also something that's proven. And this industry has, like I said, been around for a long time. It's not dying, it's only growing. And this company is growing. Our company is going to be $1 billion company soon. So this is something that's not going away. And for my own self, in terms of it proven, I saw my daughter, in 8 months earning about $50,000 more a year than I was earning after 24 years in corporate America. I saw my niece, ranking to Ruby and senior Ruby. I saw other personal friends of mine that were at Emerald and now Diamond. So it is proven, and you want to look for something that's a low time investment. I think people still think that I probably, and maybe all of us, we have friends that probably think we devote 40 hours a day to this, 40 hours a week to this. I don't, because I have a full-time job. Right. I'm still growing a business because I'm being very strategic about it. And the last thing that really caught my attention was look for something that you can start as a side gig. And I know for me, I shared this with you. When I started this, that's how I was looking at this. I never said side hustle. I hate that term, but I would say side gig. But the first paycheck that I earned, stopped calling it a side gig or a side business. It was my business at that point. And that's how I have viewed it ever since. I've treated business.
Right. That ownership is incredibly powerful. And it is a mindset shift, definitely. I know on my side, I built a very successful business teaching school full time. So I was teaching all day. I would work a little bit in the morning before I went to school. I would work in the afternoon, evening after I came home from school, a little customer care, a little bit of recruiting on the side. But this is something that you can do very successfully while you're working full time. Now, Dave and I both have in common that we are both empty nesters, and y'all, I'm not ashamed to tell you, teacher retirement is not what it used to be. It's not. And I am so grateful to have a very stable secondary stream of income coming into our family, because it helps us so much. It helps with not only to cover the cost of the products that our entire family uses, but with incidental expenses and planning for things like travel and Christmas. And it is truly a proven industry. Now, Dave and I will both be very quick to tell you that you'll get out of this what you put into it, for sure. And one of the things that I was so eager to talk with Dave about tonight is I just want to explore the reality that here's my dear friend Dave building a very successful business in an industry, and in particularly in a company that is predominantly female. So Dave, tell us, what kind of challenges have you faced as a man building a business in a very pink world?
Literally. I made the decision in November of 2018 that, after using the products, and I was, mid 50s, I was tired. I think I had one too many dumb staff meetings that week. And I'm like, I just can't do this anymore. I have to figure a way out. And I kept, what am I going to do? And so it was, like I said, I saw all females in my life that were being successful at this. And I still didn't understand. And so I jumped in. I decided, I was going to jump in, and I started doing all of this training, prepping for January. I I still didn't really get it because I would see some videos of some husbands. But what I came to find is, and there's nothing wrong with it. There are a lot of husbands that, their wives are building, in their name, so to speak. And then, but what I have seen since I started building my business is a lot more men um, becoming really active in building a business. So for me in the beginning, it was a little frustrating. And I thought, how am I going to do this? One thing I did have on my side is, again, I think that just the corporate American experience and being a manager in different businesses, I had people that I led that were male and female. So over the decades, I think I just learned to relate to the women that were working for me in the companies that I was with. The men, that was easy because I was a guy. But I think over those decades, I developed that skill. So reaching out to the females, and doing this, that wasn't something that necessarily intimidated me. And I think that can be intimidating for men. And there are ladies that just build strictly, targeting other women for reasons. If, maybe it's their niche is stay-at-home moms or whatever. But for me, I just decided, because I struggled with this for a little bit, and I really got some negativity about it at some points along the way. I just didn't feel like I had a voice, or I didn't know where I'd fit in. I even remember being after our convention in Vegas in 2019, Ashley's team, she got to take 5 people to headquarters. And, I was one of the first people to arrive, and, I just kind of like scoping out the hotel and everything. And there were some other ladies there that I didn't know. And they saw, my name thing on, so they knew it was Plexus. And one of the ladies said to her friend, she goes, "I should have brought my husband." And I went, and I immediately, they assumed I was just a spouse tagging along, that I wasn't doing this as a business. And I said, "No, I'm here, part of my daughter's team. I'm a business builder." And they're like, "Oh, okay, great." So, but I think that we're starting now to see more men show up. Even aside from, just going to Menoplexus at convention, we're seeing men building the business. I was, in a training that I know you were in earlier this week, and, there's another guy actively building a business with Plexus. So it was something that I allowed to build some negativity in me, and I had to really quickly decide, what, I've got to get over that. If this is what I want, then I just have to show up, be me, be authentic. And it does, I'm not targeting guys or women. I am just targeting humans that need help, whether it's with their health or, with income. So I just decided, I'm going to be me,
And you were doing a fabulous job being there. You are. Y'all, I was sharing with Dave a couple of days ago that I've been watching him for quite some time, and maybe a little bit on the side, before we truly made a connection and became friends. And I've been watching this evolution take place with Dave. Initially what I was seeing was Dave sharing a lot about the products, and he hasn't even touched on his own personal health testimony with Plexus, but it is phenomenal. And we might get to that in a second. But what I'm seeing happen is that Dave is steadily, intentionally niching down, and his voice is becoming so clear as to who it is that he is looking for to join him in this business and how he's approaching them. Dave, would you share with us some of the language that you're using lately when you're talking to men about this business?
Yeah, and I've shared with you, that was another thing that I really kind of danced around with in terms of the business aspect. And that was a corner that I turned late last year. And, I had shared about the business here and there, but something clicked in me. And it was, I now show up, like I say, unapologetically talking about the business. And because of my own experience, especially when I'm talking to guys, and I had a conversation with a guy that I used to work with, to be very specific. It was on Friday, and I reached out to him. I used a Bob Heilig line on him, and I said, what would it make you feel like about the possibility of us working together? And not, hey, are you interested in doing this? But I said, how do you feel about maybe us working together? And he said, it's worth a conversation. And we had a conversation, and it's ongoing. But what I heard in his voice is, again, he's still at the same company where I used to work, and miserable. And what I share with him, I didn't want to get too deep in the comp plan and all that stuff, but I was just kind of vision casting and sharing with him, some of the possibilities. And I could tell that that was something that interested him. And he said, he says, I've given up, and I just don't feel like I have a voice anymore. And I said, I know how you feel. That's how I felt. And I should have left 5 years before the restructure happened. So again, a conversation that I probably wasn't that bold about before. Now I'm a lot more bold with that. And I think it's just a lot of things, because like I shared earlier, we're in times that are very uncertain. We don't know where the next 12 months are going to look like. I wish I would have started, that's my one regret. I wish I would have started sharing, the products and the opportunity sooner, and created a source of income for myself, because going through almost 2 years of being unemployed, because I wasn't ready to be on my own in my Plexus business. I just started. I was silver. So I wasn't ready. And going almost 2 years without full-time employment, it really hurt us financially, And so I come from that place of still rebounding from that. And it's been almost 2 years, back in the workplace, building this and continuing to build a business. But when that storm comes, a lot of people aren't ready, and I wasn't ready. And that was my one regret. And that's why I tell people, listen, I think it was Brooke Hemingway was the first person that I heard say, most millionaires have at least 7 streams of income. And I use that all the time. And I tell people, listen, if a millionaire can have 7 streams of income, why can't we have at least 2, And it's not expensive to do this. So again, I'm just very bold about it, very unapologetic about it.
And I am seeing that in everything that you're saying and doing. And it's so compelling. Like, it's one of the things that draws me to you. Y'all, Dave and I were talking about what happened 4 days ago. And you're probably aware of it, but 4 days ago was the lowest day of trading in the US stock market in record years. And it began to reverberate across global markets.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is because we are experiencing an all-time high, the highest inflation our country has experienced in 40 years. And so when we talk about this business of network marketing being an industry for the future and how that could impact you financially, it's because in times of economic downturn, people are suddenly far more open than they've ever been to diversifying, to adding those additional streams of income. And so we wanted to be sure that you heard that loud and clear tonight, because while you might feel and guilty for many years, far more comfortable sharing about the benefits of our products, we have something to offer anyone. And y'all, like Dave said, this month it's $1 to enroll in Plexus and build a business. Talk about a turnkey operation, right?
Mhm.
But don't shy away from sharing the business, like Dave is saying, boldly and unapologetically, because the industry is proven. Our company is proven. Y'all, we are led with integrity from the very tip top of this company all the way down. That's important to me. It's important to me to know that I can wear my Plexus banner with pride. And I do, but I want you to hear our heart, and that is, do not shy away from sharing something that could literally change someone's life. And that is building a business with this company. So, Dave, I'm going to ask you, what advice would you give someone who is just starting out?
Oh, goodness. I think the biggest piece of advice, and I wish someone had told me this in the beginning, um, you're going to go through what's called the grit phase.
Mm,
And I think everybody, regardless of the rank that you're at, probably has moments of going through the grit. You're building a business. But I didn't really understand that. I thought everything was going to be, I'm going to share, we're going to do this, and, I'm going to be a diamond in 8 months, and this is work.
mhm.
And there are those moments where it's going to be tough, but it's the amazing things that happen on the other side of those phases of going through grit is what makes this so worth it. I think it's why we all keep doing it.
Mhm.
But I was sharing with you, someone that I follow on Instagram was talking about this very thing about, so many people quit too soon because they don't want to go through that grit phase. And I believe the way she said it is that going through that grit phase is going to develop you into the person that you need to be so you can steward the size of business that you're wanting to build. And I love that.
Yes.
And she followed it up with, she said that the grit phase is also, it's going to mold you into the person you need to be that can keep that business once you've built it. And I was someone, and back to what Warren Buffett said, invest in yourself. I had not invested in myself in a long, because I was busy doing a job for a company and padding their bottom line.
Right.
And I wasn't investing in me.
Right.
So don't be bothered by the grit phase. Invest in yourself. And I am constantly investing in myself. Even a couple of years after starting to build a business, I am constantly doing that. When I came to this, because I expected I was going to go faster, I was someone who had been, like I said, in corporate America and with our companies. I was a manager. I was a boss. I wasn't really a leader.
Right.
And being a leader is something very different than being a boss. And I came into this, I came out of that corporate world. I was a little arrogant and prideful. And God had to do some smoothing of the edges on me. And I have gone through, and not that I've arrived or where I want to be yet, but God has done some great stuff in my life along the way, and I wouldn't trade that for anything, but stick out the grit and invest in yourself, because it will pay off. It will pay off. And show up. Like I said, I started treating mine as a business and not a side gig after that first check. Show up every day in this like it's your business, and take that ownership. That's some of the best advice I could give people starting out.
One of the things that you shared with me that was so powerful, Dave, was recognizing the value of plugging in. I call it put
Mm,
yourself in the room. You got to put yourself in the room, because
yeah.
y'all, one of the tactics of the enemy of our souls is that if he can isolate us, he can take us down. And I am going to do everything I can to put myself in the room so I'm surrounded by others who are doing the same thing I'm doing. And it helps to build my belief. But Dave, you've also got some very specific action steps that you discipline yourself to do on the weekends to help propel you forward each week. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. I've gone through a whole evolution on this, but it's really mostly around social media. Um, and I had to really, kind of change how I was showing up once I started doing this. But there are people that still think, they'll see me post in the day and they're like, think I'm sitting there for, 30 minutes trying to figure out a post when I'm, at my job. And that's not what's happening. I am constantly sending myself, a voice memo, or, a text message or an email to myself. I am constantly looking for inspiration. If I'm in the grocery store, I'm at Lowe's, I don't care where it is, or if I hear something on the radio, even if it's just a couple of words in a line, I am constantly listening for inspiration, and I will send myself a note with those words or that thing that inspired me. And I take time on the weekend. Usually Saturday night is the time because my wife Lisa and I, we're watching, oh gosh, Huckabee or something else. And I'm just sitting there at the kitchen table, taking all those notes that I sent myself during the week that were inspiration, and I'm just creating posts. And so I am creating my content for the next week, and sometimes even weeks in advance. I have posts that I create, and I have those things written. And I know Sarah Knolenberg shared this last week because she was talking about the same thing. And I don't remember where I got the idea from. I don't remember that, but I came to that place of being more prepared, being ready. And it was funny, about plugging in. Plugging into this team
Mhm.
was a lifeline for me because I was sitting out there, especially a guy in this business. I was sitting out there kind of like, where do I fit in? You know, and I can't remember if it was Lisa or Christy that, told me about Wham, and I got plugged in, and it's been the best thing for me. Mindset, the sense of community within this bigger community, the encouragement. It was truly a lifeline for me. But Lisa, I think we were doing a power hour one morning that Lisa was leading, Lisa Nossinger, and we got to the point where we were doing a post, and she said, okay, it's now the 15 minutes where we're dedicated to posting. And I had already had mine done. uh, so I was like, copy paste post, and she saw it because she saw in the news feed. She goes, wait a minute, you already posted. Yeah, I had it already written. And it because that time where in between where I lost the job and I knew I'd be going back to work, I knew that I had to come up with a system that was going to help me to stay consistent and be able to manage doing this and still, do a full-time job. So I think that's one of the things, especially people that are working full-time, that I like to share with them. I figured out a lot of things. And that was a big one for me, having that content ready. When I get up in the morning, I go for my walk, have my prayer, devotion time, all that. And then I sit down, I pull up my phone, I go to my email, copy, paste, post, and I don't have to think about it. It just takes so much stress out of the morning.
It does. And it keeps your voice authentic because
Yeah.
everything that I read of yours, I can hear you saying it. I read it, but it's the sound of your voice in my ears as I'm reading it because it truly is authentic to you. It has come from your heart. And that's so compelling, so incredibly powerful. So
Other posts I have, but I try to, if it's not a testimony, sometimes I'll see other people will post something and I will use it as inspiration, and I will put my own spin on it. And I that, I think I welcome people to do it with mine, and I think other people welcome that as well. I just don't want to copy it exactly. I want to take it, use the idea, and put my own personal spin on it.
Absolutely. That's so powerful. Excuse me. We're about to wrap up. I've got two last questions for you. Okay. The first one is, what does it mean to you, Dave, to be a man of influence?
Oh, so I shared with you that during that time where, after being separated from my job and, going back to this one, I was investing in myself. One of the things I did, I got my certification as a coach with the John Maxwell team. And John Maxwell, if I've heard him say it once, I've heard him say it 1,000 times. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And um, that has had a big impact on me, especially coming from how I used to be on social media to where I am now, and using my voice in a different way, because I know that people are watching me. And I know one of the things that I have to be, in terms of being a man of influence, is I have to be constantly self-aware of what I am sharing, how I'm sharing it, how I'm displaying myself on social media. What are people seeing and that doesn't mean that that's just a one-stop thing. I have to constantly be self-aware. There was somebody commented on a post of mine yesterday, and I typically on the weekends don't post plexus stuff. It's more personal or spiritual, faith-based. And this person commented, and I'm like, first of all, I'm like, why did you come here? But she started sharing she's agnostic and all this stuff, and I had to take a minute and show some grace. I didn't want to come at her hot and heavy. I didn't want to delete it. I wanted to leave it there, because that's a her thing, not a me thing. But I showed her some grace. And I did not used to be that way before. So again, becoming self-aware, for me, it's one of the biggest pieces in terms of being a man of influence.
Thank you for sharing that. As you were talking, I was thinking, not only are you careful about what you say, you're doing it in a way that in which you are still transparent. You are still allowing us a glimpse behind the curtain. There's still that sense of, I'm getting to know you, because you're allowing yourself to be vulnerable. And that to me is also incredibly compelling. So I tip my hat to you, brother. I do. I think that the way you're representing yourself in this world is powerful, and it does reflect very well on the culture of our company and what our company represents. So that leads me to my very last question. Dave, if you could say one last thing, like what would your parting thing be if you had to rally the troops and give them a call to action tonight?
Well,
what would you say?
can I tell a quick story, and then and it's not really a story, it's something I heard an interview, and I know we're probably running long. I hope it's okay.
We're great on time. Perfect.
Because it's part of my call to action. I heard an interview. I'm not necessarily somebody that follows Oprah or espouses to everything that she says or does, but I love something I heard in this interview, and they were talking about successful people, because the person was asking her, you've interviewed a lot of successful people in your career. How do what's something that makes them successful? And she said that successful people know where they want to go, and most people don't know where they want to go. And she said that that's the thing that you've got to figure out. And she said, you know, once you come to that place, well, she said, we a lot of us, you know, allow other people to tell us what it is that we want, or we've carried something we think we're supposed to do. But she said, once you get clarity around what it is that you want, she said, you need to have every decision, every choice, everything you do move you in the direction of achieving that vision.
Mm.
And that just, I just heard that, like I said, you know, several days ago, and I just loved that. And most people don't do that. I mean, when you think about, so my call to action, and that was why I want to tell that little piece, because first thing on my list was, I think everybody should spend a little bit of time, because it's not just about being a Plexus ambassador or, you know, supplements. Or I'm a, you know, with Plexus. What do you want? What do you want this to be for you? What is your vision? So I think that's my first call to action, is really sit down and spend some time. What do I want? What is it I want to achieve? And build some clarity around that. And that's something I'm constantly doing with myself, that resonated with me so much. So that's the first thing. Answer that question. What do I want? Build clarity. The other thing is, and I know we didn't have time for this, but and we've heard a lot about building brand over the last couple of years, but I think that's so important. But a big piece of that is really kind of owning your story, embracing your, and understanding what your story is, because there are people that are going to connect to that. Your story is from mine. Everyone sitting on here listening to this right now has a different story. And I, at the beginning, wasn't telling my story. I was hiding. I wasn't being honest that my company, after 24 years, had let me go. I was living with that thing inside of me, pretending like everything was great. And after convention, my daughter said to me, she says, you need to tell your story. And so I want to encourage people, first, what do you want? Own your story and tell it all the time, because that's what people are going to connect to. Someone said to me, you always talk about what happened with your job. Why do you do that? I said, because it happened. It was real. And I don't want it to happen to other people. So I'm going to keep talking about it, you know. Plan next week's content before Friday. Do that. And it's not hard. Even if you just write yourself a couple of notes and start getting in that habit, I'm telling you, I have weak stuff all the time that I can pick and choose from. But plan next week's content before the weekend. Ask every level 1 on your team to do a shout out post for you. That was something that was scary as anything to me. The first time I saw, I think it was Megan Milikovic talked about it in one of the Monday night calls, doing the shout out post. And I was like, I'm going to do that. It was scary. And if you want scripts, message me. I got all the scripts from that night and I'll send them to you, because I use them all the time. I had 2 people go senior, silver. One of them ranked twice in 30 days last month because of asking them to do a shout out post. And then I listened to, this is the last one. I listened to a podcast today, Brendan Burchard, and he was talking about purpose. And he said, purpose reveals itself in motion, not in stagnation. And he said something, he said, you need to be planning your next bold move. Now, I haven't decided what my next bold move is yet, but I'm going to be working on that. You better believe it, over the next few days. So I want to encourage you guys, what is your next bold move with Plexus? Because that's going to be the thing that keeps you in movement and not stagnation. So clarify what it is you want, own your story, tell it all the time, perfect it, plan next week's content for the weekend, ask every level 1 team to do a shout out post, and plan your next bold move.
Glory. I loved it. Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your impeccable preparation. It has been a joy to spend this evening with you. I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your Monday night. We're going to put this recording in all of our team threads so that you can have it when you're ready for it. And y'all just give a wave to Dave. Thank you so much, my friend. It's been a lovely.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Hey, Dave, can I ask